Hello and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. My name is Joris and today I'm here with an update of a video that I made already more than a year ago about the monthly paying equity dividend UCITS ETFs. And as you can see, we now have 10. Actually, we have 11, but more on that later. So when I'm talking about monthly paying equity UCITS ETFs, I'm only going to talk about UCITS ETFs that invest towards stocks and not towards bonds. Because as you know, there are also monthly paying bond UCITS ETFs around, a lot in fact, but I don't like investing towards bond funds, either mutual funds or ETFs. I made a video about that. I will put the link in the description down below, so when you have time you can go and check that video out, and yeah, then you can comment whether or not you agree with me, yes or no. And then the most important thing is there are a lot of complaints when you talk about covered call ETFs. I'm going to talk about a lot of covered call ETFs today because those are the ones that pay monthly. And I know they are for income. So that's the purpose. So you need to know what the purpose is, and if you don't like the purpose, don't invest to them. And don't go in the comments down below and say, yeah, but your total return is crap. The ones that are investing towards these kind of funds normally know that. I know that as well for my XYLF fund that we have in our ETF portfolio. It's only for the income that we have that fund. We are not going to go all in on that ETF. It's only going to make up 6 or 7% of our total portfolio when we have our final composition finally. But yeah, you need to know what you are buying. So do your research. And in order to do your research, you need to read the KID, the Key Information Document, or the KIID, the Key Investor Information Document. You can find this on the site of the provider of the fund or on Just ETF. And I will show you where you can find it then. So if you go to Just ETF and you click in SDIV and you click on the ETF, then this one opens, Global X SuperDividend UCITS ETF distributing one. So it's the first ETF that I'm going to discuss in my video. And when you go down in the on the site of Just ETF of the ETF, then you can see here documents KIID. And when you click on that, this ETF PDF is going to open, and there immediately you will see objectives and investment policy. If you read this and you don't understand anything from that, stay away from the ETF. Because if you don't understand it, you certainly should not be investing towards that ETF. But here everything is explained how the ETF is investing the money. So if you like it, you can go and invest towards that ETF. If you don't like it, if you don't understand it, stay away from the ETF. That's the easiest thing. And oh yeah, I still have the 10 ETFs open, but I will discuss them for sure in my overview in my video, so I'm not going to go over them on the site of the SIX stock exchange. And you see it's here there are 10, but I believe this one, this is the, yeah, this one is the Swiss franc ETF from JP Morgan. You also have this one in US dollar, and that was actually the first one that came out, but more on that later. So let's return to the presentation, and I will always show the most important information from the key information document in this video, but I will not go and read everything. So just pause the video to read it, and if you can't read it that well because your resolution isn't good enough or my video isn't good enough in resolution, then definitely go and check that document out. So I'm going to talk about 5 global X ETFs. So you have 2 SuperDividend UCITS ETFs, and they are concerning high yielding stocks, so high dividend yielding stocks. And you have SDIV, SuperDividend UCITS ETF, and that one is around since the 15th of February of 2022. And then you have EUSD, the European SuperDividend UCITS ETF, and that one is a rather new one. It's around since the 2nd of September of 2025. And then you have the 3 covered call UCITS ETFs. I already talked about QYLD, of course, Nasdaq 100 covered call UCITS ETF. I have a typo here. Then you have XYLF, the S&P 500 covered call UCITS ETF since 11th July of 2023. That one is around. QYLD is around since the 21st of November of 2022. And for XYLF, it's really important that you remember this date, 11th of July of 2023, because my wife and I, we invest towards XYLF, of course. We chose that ETF because we started in January of 2024 investing towards XYLF because we needed the inflow of US dollars in order to be able to buy EMHD, our emerging market ETF that we want to buy for covering the emerging markets in our ETF portfolio. And then a rather new one as well, the SYLD, the Euro STOXX 50 covered call UCITS ETF from Global X, which is around since the 6th of May of 2025. And then you have the 5 JP Morgan ETFs. And I said here +1 because, yeah, it's 5 covered call UCITS ETFs. And you have JEPG, the Global Equity Premium Income UCITS ETF, and as already shown on the Swiss Stock Exchange website, you have the one that is available in Swiss francs since the 7th of August of 2024, but the one that is noted in US dollar is around since the 30th of November of 2023. And then you have JEPI, that's the US Equity Premium Income UCITS ETF. That one also covers the S&P 500, just like XYLF. So XYLF, the one that my wife and I invest towards. And yeah, this one is just too late. If this one would have been earlier, I know for sure that my wife and I would have picked JEPI to invest towards, because this one is the 29th of October of 2024, and the total expense ratio is a little bit cheaper than the one from XYLF. So yeah, it's sometimes it's a pity that yeah, because of the time when you started investing towards an ETF, you have that one in your portfolio, and on the other hand, the difference is small. The performance so far, okay, you can't really compare it, but JEPI is performing the past year. It's better performing. It's still negative, but it performed better than XYLF. And then you have JEPQ, the Nasdaq Equity Premium Income UCITS ETF, and that one is around since the 29th of October of 2024. And then you have, since the 13th of November of 2025, you have JEIC, the US Equity Premium Income UCITS ETF, and that one is Swiss francs hedged. So actually it's the same one as JEPI, but you will see that later in the video, but they gave it a different ticker, and it's completely Swiss francs hedged. So not like the Swiss franc type of the JEPG, where you still get the dividends in US dollar. Here you also get the dividends in Swiss francs. And that's also the case for JEQC, the Nasdaq Equity Premium Income UCITS ETF, which is also Swiss francs hedged, so you can buy it in Swiss francs and receive the dividends in Swiss francs. But they are really new, the 13th of November of 2025, so they are going to distribute their first dividend in next week. In fact, the 15th of January, they are going to pay out their first dividend. And with JP Morgan, you always have to wait around 28 days, so 4 weeks, before they pay out the dividend. So that's really important that you get that in the back of your head as well. With Global X, it's always more or less 7 days between the ex-dividend date and the payout date. So we can go to the first one, the SDIV or SDIP or UDIV. So as always, on the European continent, you have a lot of tickers for the same ETF. So I always put the ISIN code here and the total expense ratio you can see always on the slides. And this is a global ETF and it focuses on high dividend yielding stocks. So you can buy one share for 8.117 Swiss francs. The currency of the dividend is US dollar. There are 98 holdings in this ETF and there is 493 million Swiss francs invested toward this ETF. It's a fully replicated type. And here you can see the performance of this ETF for the past 1 year, 3 years and 5 years. But as you see, it's around since the 15th of February of 2022. So 5 years isn't relevant yet. And throughout this video, you will see a lot of unknown values for the ETFs that I'm presenting because they are still fairly young. But here you can see that in Swiss francs, the performance is 15.47% for the past year. In euro, it's 16.38%. So you can see that the euro, in fact, remained pretty much stable compared to the Swiss francs in the past year. That's not the case for the past 3 years, where the difference is a bit larger. So the euro became weaker and the US dollar became a whole lot weaker compared to the Swiss francs. So there the 1 year performance is 31.51% and the 3 year performance 35.68%. So they pay out monthly dividends, so in all months, and the dividend yield is 9.12%. And here I'm giving always the total dividend distributed over the year. And here you can see that since 2023, they pay out all the dividends in 2022 because they started in February. It's not a complete year. And then in 2023, it was their first complete year. So when there's an asterisk here, it means that the year wasn't complete. But for the 3 years that are complete, you can see actually a downwards trend. The performance, it wasn't that great in the first year of this ETF, and then I said in my first video in which I mentioned SDIV that maybe this was a dividend trap. And in the beginning it certainly was, because high dividend yielding stocks, sometimes they are pretty dangerous. But since then they actually turn around, and in the past 1.5 years, 2 years, they are actually performing quite okay. So they are making up ground compared to the beginning, and I'm really looking forward to see the 5-year yield for this ETF. Here you can see the key investor information from SDIV. So pause the video if you want to read it completely, and then we can go to the next one. So the JEPG or JEPI, GGPI, the JP Morgan Global Equity Premium Income Active UCITS ETF. It's a global ETF and it uses the covered call strategy. You have a total expense ratio of 0.35%, so that will always be the case for JP Morgan ETFs. It's a total expense ratio of 0.35, and for Global X it's 0.45. The currency on the 6, you have US dollar for 26.98 US dollar. You can buy one share, or you can buy one share for 21.64 Swiss francs. The dividend that they pay out in US dollar, and they invest towards 229 holdings. They have 1.325 billion US dollar invested towards this ETF, and it's a fully replicated type. And the performance for the past year was minus 1.16% in Swiss francs, minus 0.42% for the past year in euros, and in US dollar it was positive 12.47% in the plus. They pay out monthly dividends normally because it goes about monthly paying dividends, of course, ETFs in this video, and they have a dividend yield of 7.88%. And here you can see that in 2024 they paid out in total 1.6926 US dollar, and for 2025 the dividends total 2.1251 US dollar. So there the trend is a bit upwards. And then we can go to the third one, XYLF. That's an S&P 500 covered call strategy from Global X. So total expense ratio 0.45%, and you can buy one share for 33.32 US dollar. The dividend is paid out in US dollar as well. It's a swap-based ETF, so you don't know how many holdings they have in their ETF, and they have invested in their ETF 106 million Swiss francs. Here you can see the performance for the past year, so minus 5.44%. So that's not great, of course. My wife and we are not that happy about that, but we know that we invest towards an ETF that isn't focused on total return, and with the tariffs of Trump in April, it took a big hit and it's recovering really slow. That's a disadvantage of a covered call strategy, of course, but we know that and we can live with that. As long as the dividend yield remains high, we are happy, and the dividend yield is 10.47%. So in euro it's minus 4.72%, and in US dollar it's still positive 7.59% up. And here you can see the evolution of the dividends. And yeah, in 2023 it wasn't a complete year, but then compared to 2024, 1.36 US dollar in that one, and in 2025 it was 1.63. So we still see an upward trend, and yeah, we are not complaining about that at all. Then we can go to JEPI, which is the JP Morgan S&P 500 covered call from JP Morgan, and you can buy one share for 25.235 US dollar. They pay out the dividend in US dollar as well. So there is 233 companies invested in this ETF, and there is 300 million US dollar invested towards this ETF. It's a fully replicated type, and it's down 3.72% this past year. So it performed a little bit better than XYLF. If you look at the dividend yield there, it's a little bit lower than XYLF. Minus 2.95% the past year in euro, and up 9.60% in US dollar. And if you look at the dividends distributed in 2024, yeah, it was only one dividend that was paid out. So it is only the first full year, 2025, for dividends, and there we got a payout of 1.763 in total in dividends this year. Once again, the key information document. And then we can go to the Swiss francs hedge version of the previous ETF. So the S&P 500 covered call strategy for JP Morgan US Equity Premium Income Active UCITS ETF. And you can buy one share for 20.86 Swiss francs. The dividends are paid out in Swiss francs as well, so that can be really interesting for Swiss investors. It invests towards 233 companies, just like the previous ETF. It also says that it has 300 million US dollar invested toward this one, even though it only started on the 13th of November of last year. It's also a fully replicated type. So in fact, it's completely the same ETF as the previous one, but it's Swiss francs hedged, and it has a different ISIN code. So I don't know how they do this then, but yeah, it's noted on the site of JP Morgan like this. So I'm not going to argue with them, of course. But yeah, because it's such a fresh one, I can't give any information about the performance. The dividend yield, yeah, it's going to pay out the first dividend on the 15th of January, so nothing is known for this ETF so far. You can go and look at the dividend yield of JEPI, so that's about 6.99%. But with the Swiss francs hedge, you don't know exactly how much it's going to be, so I don't want to put a number on this one. And yeah, here no information as well. But here you can have the information. Here is the link to the file, because it's not on Just ETF yet, this ETF. So when you put in the ticker on Just ETF, you will get no hits. But yeah, when you go to the site of JP Morgan with this link, you will find it. I will put this link in the description down below. And then we can go to QYLD, the Global X Nasdaq 100 covered call UCITS ETF. And it's a total expense ratio of 0.45%. You can buy one share for 13.462 Swiss francs. They pay out their dividends in US dollar, and yeah, it's a swap based type, so you don't know how much holdings they have, but yeah, normally they cover with the swap the whole Nasdaq 100 index, and there is 486 million Swiss francs invested towards this ETF. The past year it's down 7.59%, and in Swiss francs, and in euro it's minus 6.90%, and in US dollar it's still up 5.19%. But once again, the past year it wasn't that great with with the tariffs being announced in April. All the covered call strategy ETFs struggled a bit with that, with recovering afterwards. But when you look at the 3-year performance there, this one is up 36.18%, so not that bad. In euro it is up 44.03%, and in US dollar it is up 56.79%. The dividend yield is 11.40%, so pretty high in fact as well. And in 2023 it wasn't a complete year, so they missed only one payment. I think in January they didn't have a payment, and then they started paying out in February. And then you have the first complete year in 2024 with 1.94, and then in 2025 it was 1.92. So pretty close, but still I don't like to see that the number is going down a little bit, but still I think this is better than the SDIV one, where you can see 3 years in a row that the dividend is going down. And then we can go to the JEPQ, the Nasdaq 100 Equity Premium Income Active UCITS ETF from JP Morgan. You can buy one share for 26.95 US dollar, and the currency of the dividend is also US dollar. There are 91 holdings in this ETF, and there is 2.63 billion US dollar invested towards this ETF. So a really big one, in fact. It's a fully replicated type, and in the past year it is up 2.29%. In Swiss francs, in euro it is up 3.06%, and in US dollar it is even up 16.46%. And the dividend yield is 9.96%. So in 2024, once again, it wasn't a complete year. It started in October of 2024, so it's yeah, only one payment, I think, or two payments were made in 2024. And then in 2025, we had a total dividend received of 2.6813 US dollar. And then you have the Swiss francs hedge typed from the Nasdaq 100 cover call strategy of JP Morgan. Once again, you can buy one share for 20.78 Swiss francs. The dividend is being paid out in Swiss francs as well. And here, once again, the same information on the website of JP Morgan. So it's the same information as for the JEPQ one. I don't know how they do it because the ISIN code isn't the same, but it is the way it is. And I can't give any information about the performance because it's yeah, it's pretty new. On the 13th of November it started of 2025. And just the same remark, the dividend yield, you can go and look at the dividend yield of JEPQ, which is 9.96%. But yeah, it's Swiss francs hedged, so you don't know exactly, and that's why I put a question mark. And once again, no information here as well. The first ETF dividend is going to be paid out on the 15th of January. So it went already ex-coupon last month. And yeah, I said it before, JP Morgan, you always have to wait around 4 weeks before the dividend is being paid out. I will put this link in the description down below, so you can go and check the key information document out. And this one is also not yet on Just ETF. Probably it's going to come soon, but yeah, as I'm recording, it's still not there. And then we have EUSD, the Global X European SuperDividend UCITS ETF. So this one is a European one, and it's invested towards high dividend yielding stocks. You can buy one share for 15.118 Swiss francs. It's been around since the 2nd of September of 2025, so a really young one. The dividend is being paid out in euro, and it's invested towards 24 companies. There is so far 13 million Swiss francs invested towards this ETF. It's a fully replicated type. And yeah, it's not yet a year, but I'm going to give you the performance for the past, yeah, more or less 5 months or 4 months, 4 months and a bit. And in Swiss francs, it is up 10.44%. In euro, it is up 11.07%. And in US dollar, it is up 10.98%. So here you can see that the past 4 months, actually, the currencies are pretty much stable compared to one another. And that is really great for us dividend investors, because then we have more reliable numbers for our future dividends coming in when we have euros, US dollars and Swiss francs that are coming in. The dividend yield is 8.40%, and that's an estimate because in 2025 they paid out 4 dividends so far. So I recalculated with this number, and taking into account that there were only 4 dividends paid, so I divided this number by this and then multiplied by 3 to have the dividend yield. So it's not going to be completely correct, I know that, but it gives an idea. So 8.40% more or less. Here is the key information document information. And then we can go to the last one, the SYLD, the Global X Euro STOXX 50 Covered Call UCITS ETF. And you can buy one share for 14.346 Swiss francs, and the dividend is being paid out in euro. The invested total in this ETF is 41 million. I don't know how many holdings are in this ETF because, yeah, it's not on Just ETF because it's a swap ETF. And once again, just like with the previous one, there isn't a year over yet, but I can already give the performance for the past 7 months, and it is up 7.43% in Swiss francs. It's 7.86% up for euro, and in US dollar it is up 10.53%. And once again, I made an estimate for the dividend yield, and now it's 10.4% because they paid out already 6 dividends in 2025, and those totaled 0.805799 euros. So I recalculated towards Swiss francs, divided by this number, and then multiplied by 2 to come out to a dividend yield of around 10.4%. And here you can see the key information document. And yeah, if you want to read it, you can pause the video once again. And here you have then the final overview of all the discussed European ETFs with dividends for European and Swiss investors. So the JEIC and the JEQC they are only available on the SIX. So yeah, they are Irish ETFs, which are available on the SIX stock exchange for Swiss investors and in Liechtenstein. So here you can see all the numbers. I'm not going to repeat them all, but you can definitely see a trend. The covered call ETFs in the past year, they really underperformed all the other indexes which they are tracking. So you were better off just buying the normal ETFs which are tracking those indexes. Most of the time that will be the case. Sometimes when it's special, when the indexes are trading sideways, then that's not going to be the case. Then covered calls are going to perform better. But yeah, when there is a big crash and then they need to recover, you will have this effect. So know what you are buying, do your research, and if you are seeking income, you see that they don't go down a lot and they don't go up a lot. Okay, the QYLD for the past 3 years up 36.18%. That's not bad at all, but normally you will expect more or less a flat evolution of the ETF, slightly going up, and then with the dividend coming in, the income coming in, you expect, so with the premiums, that you are getting more or less 8-9% on average each year from a covered call ETF. But once again, not financial advice, it's just my opinion. I give here all the raw numbers. I gather the information. I hope you like this kind of videos and that you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like this kind of content. Also hit that like button, that helps my channel out enormously. And with that being said, thank you for watching to this one and see you on the next one on my YouTube channel. Bye.